Year 1128. Chinese artists painted something extraordinary. A tube. Smoke. Fire. At first glance, it looked harmless. But historians now believe this was the world's first true cannon, the ancestor of every artillery weapon ever built, and it started with bamboo. During the Song Dynasty, China was locked in constant warfare. Armies needed something stronger than arrows and faster than swords, so engineers turned to an unlikely material growing in their forests. They created the fire lance. Imagine standing on a battlefield when a soldier points a bamboo tube toward you. Suddenly, flames burst from its end, followed by sand, metal pellets, and shards of pottery flying through the air. For soldiers seeing it for the first time, it must have felt like magic. But here's the mystery. Who first had the idea to put explosive powder inside a plant? No one knows. What we do know is that gunpowder had already been discovered by Chinese alchemists searching for immortality. Instead, they accidentally invented a force that would kill millions throughout history. And that was only the beginning. By the early 1100s, bamboo had a problem. It cracked. Engineers replaced it with metal, creating what they called eruptors, primitive cannons capable of launching projectiles farther and with greater force. The oldest image of one survives from 1128. At first, these weapons could fire only about 50 yards, but within a century, they were smashing through city walls. Think about that for a moment. An invention that began as a flaming stick had become a machine capable of destroying entire fortresses. And then came the breakthrough. Historian Joseph Needham described a critical innovation: cannonballs designed to fit perfectly inside the barrel. Suddenly, accuracy improved, range increased, warfare changed forever. It was the medieval equivalent of upgrading from a bicycle to a fighter jet. But China's greatest military secret didn't remain secret for long. Somehow, cannon technology traveled west. By 1341, the Scots were defending Stirling Castle with cannons. Just 5 years later, King Edward III used them during the Battle of Crecy. Historical records suggest he eventually owned more than 100 cannons in London. Europe had entered the age of gunpowder. Yet the strangest part of the story was still to come. By the late 1400s, engineers were competing to build larger and larger weapons. The result? Bombards. Gigantic cannons so enormous they seemed impossible. One of them still exists today, Mons Meg. Built in 1457, this monster has a barrel nearly 22 inches wide. It could launch a 331-pound stone projectile almost 2 miles. Imagine hearing that sound without ever knowing what a cannon was. Many historians believe the psychological impact was just as devastating as the weapon itself. But even giants don't last forever. By the 16th century, military engineers realized something surprising. Smaller cannons were often better. They were lighter, faster, and more accurate. The age of precision had begun. Over time, those ancient Chinese fire lances evolved into modern artillery, from Napoleonic cannons to the devastating howitzers used during the American Civil War. And that's the greatest twist of all. Every cannon, every artillery shell, every battlefield explosion of the last 900 years traces its origins back to a piece of burning bamboo. History remembers the kings who used these weapons, but it rarely remembers the unknown inventor who first looked at a hollow plant and imagined fire. And perhaps that's the biggest mystery of all. If you enjoyed uncovering forgotten inventions that changed our world, subscribe now, because the next story is even more unbelievable.